Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, an infectious disease specialist gives an update on COVID hospitalizations. BDB looking to invest in the orange economy. A local government candidate in Grand Bahama gives back. And a veteran prison officer retires. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight. 3 men in Long Island died after the vehicle they were traveling in crashed into a home in Mangrove Bush. According to police, the incident occurred shortly after 9 on Friday night. When officers arrived on scene, they found a black Nissan Infiniti resting on the driver's side with extensive damage. 2 of the men in the vehicle were pronounced dead on scene by the local doctor. The third occupant was airlifted to New Providence for medical attention, where he also died. The Royal Bahamas Police Force Traffic Section is investigating the matter. With reported COVID-19 hospitalizations remaining high, an infectious disease specialist is continuing to provide insight into what those numbers mean. While high numbers of patients are testing positive for the virus and thus creating a challenging environment for the hospital staff, she highlights that illness from Omicron is less severe and the majority of patients presented at hospital for another medical issue.
Just upward of 30% of the patients in Princess Margaret at this time presented for COVID and symptoms of a viral prodrome, and the others are generally there for other medical problems with COVID-19 at this time.
Of the 79 people reported hospitalized at PMH, only 25 presented with COVID symptoms, according to Forbes. The remaining patients came to hospital for other medical issues and subsequently tested positive for COVID-19 and had to be isolated. Forbes' comments come as reported case numbers appear to be declining.
The week that ended January 7th was a high of COVID cases in country. And the week after that, the cases have declined a bit. However, that week ended January 14th. And what we have to do is we have to allow for any testing that was done at labs to be reported in late for that week. That week does look lower, but we can't be completely sure. We think it will be lower.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness reported 7 deaths on January 19th. Those deaths all occurred between January 4th and 12th. The youngest person reported to have died in these recent numbers is a 37-year-old man from Bimini who died on January 8th. The oldest was an 84-year-old man from New Providence who died on January 4th. Forbes says none of those deaths were at PMH.
Now, that being said, there are persons that may have a difficult time with Omicron and end up with severe pneumonia or need oxygen. And it is quite possible to end up sick and needing to be in the hospital or even die from Omicron. And that's more likely to be in people who have an underlying medical problem, for example. And unvaccinated persons may get COVID more often. And so it is still possible to die from Omicron. Most people will not.
The Pan American Health Organization is recommending that COVID testing be prioritized for symptomatic individuals who are at risk of spreading the virus. During PAHO's weekly press briefing, experts were asked specifically about the Bahamas, which recently launched free COVID testing amidst a COVID test shortage in some countries.
PAHO commends the establishment of free COVID-19 testing programs in countries, including in the Bahamas. These initiatives are very helpful for increasing access to testing. Always, as highlighted by Dr. Etienne and during my previous comments, always when tests are rationally used in symptomatic patients.
The surge of the Omicron variant around the world led to an increased demand for tests to detect the highly transmissible strain of the virus. The Bahamas is now seeing a decline in daily recorded cases, following record-breaking cases in the past several weeks. But when will the pandemic end?
The main characteristic of this pandemic continues to be the uncertainty regarding its evolution, and this should urge us to be cautious. While it is possible that eventually SARS-CoV-2 virus will become quote unquote endemic, we think that this will take several years to occur.
The PAHO COVID-19 incident manager says we will continue to have new outbreaks, even in places with high vaccination coverage. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper assuring that the Point development and its amenities will not be affected by the closure of the Hilton Hotel. On Wednesday, the hotel announced the closure was due to dismal business forecasts for the foreseeable future and planned to make employees redundant on February 15th.
They are committed to the Bahamas. As you know, they also own adjacent hotel properties, the Point and Margaritaville. They're not going anywhere. And the reality is that we will continue to work in partnership over the course of the next few weeks to see what solutions might be found.
So they will have confirmed that the Point and Margaritaville they won't be affected? They
will not be affected.
The management company for the Hilton Hotel is China Construction America, which also owns the Point development. The move came as the agreement to carry the Hilton brand at the property has come to an end. He said the government is looking to find ways to keep the hotel open, like finding a new partner to replace the Hilton Hotel. He said they've already made introductions in that regard.
We have other partners who might be able to replace the Hilton in its role as manager and flag carrier for this property. We've made some introductions. We have ongoing discussions in terms of our general partnership with the owners of the Hilton, and that's all I'm prepared to say at this time.
Days after Prime Minister Philip Davis challenged business owners to tap into the orange economy, a local bank is offering an incentive for those in the creative community. Bahamas Development Bank executives say now is the time to invest. Jasmine Brown has the details in this report.
A key part of the Davis administration's mandate is to develop the colorful economies. The orange economy is one of them, and chairman of the Bahamas Development Bank, Quentin Lightbourne, says the bank believes it's full of opportunities.
We want to ensure that creatives are given an opportunity, whereas to enhance their craft, whereas the incentive is so that they will be able to get MacBook Pros, so they'll be able to enhance their qualities, to ensure that whatever their creative talents and juices are, that it's stimulated to a sense where the Bahamas Development Bank wants to see them succeed in that particular field.
The $70,000 technology microgrant program will equip videographers, musicians, photographers, and other artists with technology to improve the quality of their productions. Unit head of BDB's Strategic Development and Initiative, Sumaya Cargill, says the grants are aimed at persons who have demonstrated talent and experience in the creative field.
The grant is open to Bahamians. We're looking for people who have been in their industry for at least 3 years. That doesn't necessarily mean in a professional capacity. We just want to see that you have been committed and consistent in working in that space, whatever it is, whether that's music, film, art, to say that if we give you this device, you're going to make a difference in whatever it is that you're doing. We want to give you this grant, but we don't want that to be the end of the relationship. We want to grow with you. So we're going to follow up on your career, what you're doing, and help to build out whatever it is that you're doing in that space. We have a grants team in SDI, and so they'll be in contact with the recipients to see, do you need anything else? How is your business doing? Is there another opportunity for financing? Is there another grant that you might be eligible for? This grant grew out of discussions that we had with Orange Economy professionals last year in our Orange Economy discussion series. One of the things that we identified is that even though there's a lot of talk about the potential of the orange economy, there needs to be more investment. And so that's what this is about.
The BDB chairman says the initiative is one of several that will be rolled out to boost the colorful economies.
Definitely, the Bahamas Development Bank plans on targeting a lot of different and various aspects of the different economies. It's not going to be strictly just based on the orange economy. Definitely we're going to put some initiative on our green economy, talking about for renewable energy, solar panels, those type of businesses as well. And so it's very important, and also great emphasis on the blue. And so we want to do a big cross-section and not just primarily base. It goes back to the initial point, is that we want to be in a position where we foster the development and the diversification of the economy at large.
Reporting for R News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Still to come on our news, an East Grand Bahama local government candidate gives back. The opposition leader calling on government to get to work in Grand Bahama. And later, 43 years of service to the prison comes to an end for one prison officer. That's coming up when our news returns. Days before thousands of residents return to the polls to vote in the long-awaited local government election, two candidates vying to win in East Grand Bahama are making their presence felt in the community. Megan Shepard reports.
Candidate for the East Grand Bahama Local Government Council, Rashad Adderley, along with running mate Dr. Sandy Boleg, hosting a breakfast initiative recently in the Coral Gardens community. Adderley says he wanted to make a tangible contribution to the residents.
The breakfast is very important for me because I want to let the people know that I'm on the ground. I want to be a part of my community. I actually grew up in this area, like I said many times, and you have a lot of people who are unfortunate right now. You know, people only get one meal a day, and they don't even know what time of day they can get that. So we said, okay, today we're going to take the initiative to try to feed as many people as we can today. So we have a breakfast where we're giving us some tuna and grits and some chicken sauce, and hopefully next week Saturday we'll do it again. And if we can do it again every Saturday, then we'll try our best to do it again.
Adderley shared some of the initiatives he wants to implement if elected.
My first initiative is to make this Basil Namor Park a pilot project to get the youths, to bring out the best in the youths. We want to have talent shows, we want to have poetry days, we want to have basketball nights, we want to have like a Gombe Fest where people can come out and they can sell their food and different things. We want to bring out the Bahamian in our people. We want to bring the best in them because there's not many opportunities that's been given lately in our island, and you have to start from somewhere. So we want to start from here, the Basil Namor Park.
Dr. Boleg has been actively giving back to the community for the past 3 decades and believes that partnership is key to building the community of East Grand Bahama. She shared her plans for the constituency.
My area is that of training and development, so therefore we want to do a after-school program. We want to do an initiative to assist the kids and the residents with their after-school assistance, especially how things has been going virtually. So we have a lot of students that needs to catch up because some don't have the bare necessities of life, water, light, to log on virtually. So that's one of the things that I'm going to take charge of and run with it, as Shiloh does the basketball with the kids and the piloting. So we got a very good program and project on the agenda.
One of the organizations that Adderley plans to partner with is 242 Elite, a travel basketball program. Founder and coach Denzel Knowles says the goal is to not only take the sport of basketball to the next level, but to also develop well-rounded young men.
Our goal is to get these guys off the streets. We want to get them college scholarships, prep school scholarships, hopefully professional, and just try to help them to be better young men. What we really want to do is just, help the mold the Bahamian children. We really just want to help and grow the economy, change the mindset a bit of the Bahamas. I think that we think sports are just a bit too much fun and not enough business. Sports is a great segue, it helps you get to different places. We call the basketball a passport a lot. It can take you all over the world once you utilize it and take care of it.
Now Adderley also issuing a friendly basketball challenge to all of the candidates running in the upcoming election. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Opposition leader Michael Pintard has accused the Davis administration of dragging its feet on fulfilling its promises for Grand Bahama. He asserted the new government is too busy pointing the finger at its predecessors.
The Davis administration continues to do an assessment of the performance of the Minnis administration. we are expecting that they're going to be forward-looking in terms of what specific plan of actions they have and strategies to revitalize Grand Bahama.
In the lead up to the September 16th general election, PLP leader Philip Davis accused the Minister of Administration of repeatedly failing Grand Bahama. The biggest shortfalls, according to Davis, were the purchase and sale of the Grand Lucayne Resort and Hurricane Dorian recovery efforts. The Marco City MP said now that the PLP is in office, there should be less talk and more action.
There is some serious work that the government has to do with respect to Grand Bahama.
Despite the recent advisory from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention urging Americans not to travel to the Bahamas amid a fourth wave of COVID-19 infections, Tourism Minister Chester Cooper says one industry he's not too concerned about is the cruise ship industry. He said given the protocols in place on ships, especially those with ports in the Bahamas, he's confident in their ability to control the spread if there is, in fact, any case confirmations on those ships.
We have been engaged actively with the individual cruise lines as well as the cruise associations. We are working with them. They are our partners. We note the CDC comments and the CDC ratings in relation to the cruise industry, but we stand with them.
Nassau Cruiseport CEO Mike Mora has already expressed his confidence in the cruise ship industry continuing amid this spike in cases. He too has said protocols in place would help mitigate any potential spread.
Their protocols are tried and tested. Many of these ships are cruising at 50%, 60% occupancy. They have large amounts of vacant capacity in the event that somebody tests positive on board and need to be isolated. They have great protocols for the evacuation of guests. They are committed so that if anyone tests positive, they will not be treated in our local facilities unless it's an absolute emergency. But they are committed to evacuating all COVID positive guests if necessary.
When our news comes back from the break, local churches make changes during the fourth wave. The fourth wave of COVID-19 infections in the country, forcing a local church to make some difficult decisions to keep its members safe. Kelly Campbell tells us more.
Amid an alarming spike in COVID-19 cases, Christ Church Cathedral, one of the oldest churches in New Providence, is making adjustments to help curb the spread of the highly transmissible Omicron variant.
Check everyone as they enter the cathedral. You are required a mask to enter. Check your temperature. Get your name. As a matter of fact, we encourage persons to register in advance of the services. But however, if persons just show up, we will require that they provide their name and a telephone contact, and they go through the protocol.
Reverend Dean Harry Bain says he hopes to be back at full capacity by Easter.
In terms of the pandemic, whether we find that there's a new variant more contagious than what we're dealing with now, but that's sort of not really determined by us. That's determined by the virus, really, to a large extent. And so we hope that certainly by Easter time we're able to have more persons who can attend in-person worship.
Earlier this year, the Bahamas recorded over 800 cases in a single day. There are over 7,000 active cases. Even before the fourth wave, which is sweeping across the country, Pastor Mario Moxie says the church took certain precautions to keep its members safe.
One of the things, we did several things, but one of the things we did was install UV lights in all of our air-conditioned systems at both campuses. And then we had purchased machines that we can spray our environments with disinfectant. We also had a professional company that came in and did electrostatic spraying as well. And then we installed, of course, the hand sanitizers, the floor markings, that sort of thing.
He added that a reservation system implemented by the church has been quite effective. Moxie, who also serves as chairman of the Bahamas Christian Council's COVID Investigation Committee, says the BCC was heavily involved in constructing the COVID-19 guidelines for church services, which the group submitted to the Ministry of Health for approval under the previous administration. He says there should be a new set of guidelines for the church in the near future.
I would encourage everyone to be safe, to ensure that everyone adheres to the protocol. We must move from a state-govern and state-rule position to self-govern and self-rule position when it comes to COVID. We must be able to monitor ourselves and have oversight ourselves.
A veteran prison officer retires after 43 years of service. That's coming up when Our News returns. Welcome back to Our News. The Jones Communications Network named Prime Minister Philip Davis the JCN Person of the Year Thursday evening. The award highlights the most outstanding individuals in society. In his acceptance speech, Prime Minister Philip Davis called it an honor and a delight.
As we stride forward as a nation, such occasions of public recognition are fundamental for our national consciousness. It is imperative that now and again we pause to acknowledge the efforts of those who have taken the initiative, those who have ventured boldly in new directions. I gaze around this room this evening and I see people who have done just that.
JCN CEO Wendell Jones explained what made Davis stand out for this award. He said his greatest strength is his heart.
And so we have come to salute and recognize a man whose greatest strength is his heart. A heart for the people, a person of benignity, stout-hearted. And there are too many people in the political arena who do not have the heart of our honoree.
A veteran Bahamas Department of Corrections officer retired this week after 43 years of service. During that send-off ceremony, Chief Corrections Officer William Saunders reflected on his decades of service.
I joined the institution in 1978 and served as a prison officer, and then was later transferred to the tailor shop. Back then, that's what we used to call it, tailor shop, and I served the tailor shop by making the uniforms for the both officers and inmates, and then I had an opportunity to train the inmates how to sew the uniform.
Saunders says he was grateful for the opportunity to impact the lives of countless inmates.
During my tenure, it was a pleasure to work and to serve people, because our mandate was to try to reform, reshape, and rehabilitate those who have strayed away from the law. And it was our job to put them back on track. But putting many of them back, we find that the recidivism rate was very high. And so we had to give them something to do, that when they go there, not only we give them a fish, but we teach them how to fish.
Saunders says his goal was to teach inmates a talent that would help them become entrepreneurs once they served their time and were released from incarceration.
it was a pleasure to see others leave the institution and don't have to depend on anybody, go there and make a life for themselves. And like I take a page or a script out of the Bible, say that we can help somebody. You understand? And if we learn how to help somebody, not to give them something for them to come back, but to give them something that they can not only help themselves, but help their family and help others around them.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.